Elizabeth Evans, and I'm a homeschooling mom of 4 young kids. I'm figuring this out as I go, but I'm here to talk to Bonnie, who has been writing and speaking on the subject for over a decade and has been homeschooling for 3 decades.
My name's Bonnie Landry. I've got 7 kids. They're ages 13 to 33. I've been homeschooling for 29 years. I'm a wife, a mom, a grandma. I'm a speaker and a writer, and I'm an advocate of joy. So we're here to provide this podcast so that homeschooling can look like you imagined it to be. Good evening, ladies.
Hello.
Good evening. Elizabeth, I want to both introduce you to Janelle and welcome Janelle to our show. For our listeners, Janelle is a busy homeschooling mom. She's got 6 kids, and she's going to tell us a little bit about herself in a moment. Janelle is the converging point, and that's why she's on my radar, about where fitness and family and homeschooling and faith all meet in the same place. So Janelle, I don't actually know that much about you, so if you can please tell us a little bit about yourself, that would be great.
Sure. Okay, so I actually just turned 39 years old, and my husband and I have been married for 11 years. We have 6 children. Our oldest is 9, and our youngest just turned 4 months old. We've been homeschooling now this is our 5th year into homeschooling. Our daughter she did do pre-K at school and kindergarten, and then we started homeschooling when she was in grade 1. And we live in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, and the weather's been a little bit rainy here, actually, surprisingly.
Okay. And so was the decision to homeschool, did it make your life easier in the long run?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I don't regret at all the decision to start homeschooling. I feel like it's been such a gift, honestly. I feel like there's been so many blessings and great opportunity for virtue growth through it all.
Right.
But otherwise, no,
parenthood.
it's been so good. I've just loved being able to be with our children during the everyday moments and knowing that otherwise I would have missed all that. So I'm just so grateful for it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. My initial decision to homeschool years and years and years ago, we're now in our 30th year of homeschooling, was simply that I didn't want to miss her. I didn't want to miss out on her moments. You know, I wanted to spend that time with her. She was so interesting, you know, at 4, I just thought, wow, this is a kid who's just got so much to say and so much insight on life and so much for me to learn that, that was absolutely where I was at. So, your husband's a speaker as well, I understand.
Yes. So he's been actually just sort of out of, he didn't ever intend to become a speaker, but it just sort of happened that way. He finished university, started doing youth ministry, and then one thing rolled into the next. And then now he's been speaking full time for over 20 years. Wow. And so this is a very different time because of COVID. He's not able to travel. So I actually have a husband home, which is so different.
Yeah.
He's always in airports and, but it's been a blessing. I feel like COVID has been very difficult, but it's also had its blessings too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, my life didn't change that much, right? As you know, most homeschoolers didn't change that much, but there's definitely been some blessings in it because my husband's been home too, and yours too, right, Elizabeth?
Yes.
Yeah. So, that's been nice. And it put my husband kind of in more like, okay, well, what does retirement look like? He's approaching retirement, right? So what's that going to look like? Well, this has given him a bit of he's still working, but he's in the basement.
Yeah.
So one of the questions that I wondered about you, Janelle, in particular was how were you raised in an environment of a fitness family, an athletic family? Was it always part of your life? Just some context about that question is that for me, I was, my young adult years, I'm 57, so my young adult years were in the 80s, and it was, everything about fitness was always about how you look, right? How you look in a bathing suit, how you look in your tight jeans, how you look in whatever. And that wasn't enough, although fitness was important to me then, it wasn't enough to keep me going when I started to have kids. Because first of all, the importance of that fades, as you have children. And if that's what you're hanging on to, it's not enough. Right. And that seems like in the last 20 years, a lot of that has changed, and it's about wellness. It's about your overall wellness and your mental health. Right. So what brought you here? What was it? Your background or how?
I would say like my upbringing, I feel like my parents always tried to get us to be healthy. My dad was a chiropractor, and so he's always, giving us our vitamins and things like that. But at the same time, when it came to fitness, it was more like, let's get fit by doing like yard work and manual labor and stuff like that. When it came to like team sports, I was always that girl who like tried out for the teams, but like never really made them, which,
I was that girl too.
that. I was like, yeah, that's
Me
just
too.
really not my thing. But I did play soccer and had friends who played, that was fun. But I'm just not competitive in
No, me
nature.
neither.
So it just wasn't, it wasn't enjoyable to me when it was like high stress,
Right. Or
and
other
then,
people are counting on you, right?
yeah, it was too much pressure.
Yeah.
Transform, sorry. So no, I wouldn't say that my background was like that was highly motivating, like to get in shape even, but it was once, I think I was in my young adult life, and you're thinking of maybe getting married, and then eventually like, oh, you've got this wedding coming up and you want to get into shape. And I remember like going to the gym and going to these like 5:30 a.m. spin classes and like sweating buckets and having a great energetic day. So that was kind of like my first, experience. And I shouldn't say that. I was doing some like step classes and stuff in high school. I had a cousin who used to, be an instructor and stuff. But yeah, it was only once I had children that I really got into fitness.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. I have to I'm going to backtrack for just a moment about the wedding dress. I have to tell you something funny. My one of my daughters, the first one to get married, was chose this beautiful wedding dress, and but it was kind of not traditional in the sense of what we think of as a wedding dress. And at some point, we thought, well, maybe we should explore, the more traditional wedding dresses, because we had never even been into a wedding dress shop or anything like that, so, but it's close to our wedding. It's like a couple of weeks away. And anyway, we go into this wedding dress shop, and there's a man who's actually the guy, sort of trotting out the wedding dresses for people, right? And he said, so when are you getting married? And she said, oh, I'm, a couple of weeks. And he said, a couple of weeks. And she's like, yeah, well, I have a dress, but I'm just wondering if maybe I should be looking at other options or whatever. And he said, well, it's all about the dress, right? And that was his go-to. Here's a guy who runs a wedding dress shop, and his entire world is about the dress, right? And so I mean, fitness in a sense, fitness for the wedding dress is kind of the same idea, right? Like, wow, we're just about how we look on that wedding day, right? There's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Then you realize it's more than just the wedding day.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. So it wasn't something you grew up. So then you start having kids. So what's the big motivating factor then? You've got a couple of kids. What's the big motivator?
Yeah. So basically what happened is I had baby number 1, number 2, kind of was sedentary between the two. And then baby number 3 rolled around, and I was just feeling like had no energy. Like I remember just pushing that shopping cart and feeling absolutely winded. Like I was starting to feel like I can't even do those small little responsibilities that I have to do just to run my family and my household, like taking the kids out of the car seat, putting them in the cribs, things like that. It was all exhausting, and I was feeling really overwhelmed. And then I had seen my sister, who had 2 little kids, about the same age as mine, and she was doing these workouts, and she was kind of encouraging me and just saying like, you could do this too. And they were all from at home, because another thing was like, I didn't want to have to leave my home and like drive anywhere. And I wanted it to be as simple as possible, because I felt like my life was so full and I was just overwhelmed, right? Yeah. So then my husband was on board, and so we just started this 25-minute at-home workout program. And even in the first few weeks already, I noticed an incredible change in how I felt. And it wasn't even that I was noticing changes on the scale. Like, yeah, I did have like a lot of excess weight and stuff. That was probably, adding to my fatigue. But at the same time, I noticed immediately how it made me feel and the increased energy that I had. And that was enough to propel me and to move me forward to keep doing this.
Keep at it. Yeah. Well, it's one of the things that I feel like I totally missed the boat on, because it it was the first thing to go for me as soon as I felt overwhelmed. So fitness was always very spotty for me. You know, I would have a baby, and then when the baby was a year old, you know, I would get it back into a fitness program, and I'd do it for a few months, then I'd be pregnant again, you know, and then I would, you know, okay, forget it. It's just, it would always be the first thing to fall off of what was important in my life, right? The last couple of years, it's been really, really important. And I, you know, I get my daily fitness, however that looks, you know, but I'm really committed to it. But before that, it was always back and forth, back and forth. And it was, I think a lot of the drive came from my own daughters, seeing them with their babies and raising babies, and seeing them put fitness as a priority, right? And it's because of mental health. It's not because of how they're going to look in the bathing suit, right? It's their mental health, their mood. And I think I would have saved myself a lot of having to find those ways to be the best mom that I could be, if fitness had been one of my top priorities, right? You know, one of my top 3 or 4 things, that this is what I have to do every day in order to be the best mom that I can, right? Now, I of course I gained other skills, but I think that it's a fast track in a sense, right? You know, and you know, before this show started, you were talking about the discipline too, and how that spills over. So if you could like to speak to that would be great. Yeah.
And that was one of the first things that I noticed right away, was as soon as I started developing a habit of fitness and I started growing in that discipline, I noticed it in other areas of my life, you know, in my prayer time, in my nutrition, in trying to get to bed earlier, you know, just being consistent in those things that are good for us. And that really helped too, you know, so.
Yeah, just to be committed to a healthy lifestyle. Yeah. Elizabeth, you could sort of share your background story on your fitness journey, because Elizabeth is also a big fitness fan, and very committed. So I think it'd be nice for you to share your story, which you've never really talked about very much on our show.
Right. So I had a lot of self-esteem issues growing up. I actually had an eating disorder. I would play sports and run cross country for the wrong reasons. I got to college and, you know, just wasn't eating healthy, but I had a great group of friends, met my husband, we got married. But when I started having kids, there was all of my past anxiety got worse because I was so isolated. All of my friends had jobs, my husband worked, and I was alone with a baby. And I realized I could not sit still. I had to just go and do something. So I would load my kid up and then kids and just push them in a stroller all around our little city that we lived in San Diego, and like 2 to 4 miles a day for just every day. And then we moved to Michigan, and I tried some at-home workouts, but nothing really stuck. But then I drank the CrossFit Kool-Aid, and I am never going back.
Okay, so when you first started in the 2 to 4 miles a day, did you notice a sort of an automatic increase in your energy, in your mood lift?
I felt
or no?
Yes and no. My anxiety was really, really bad back then, and so it basically just took the edge off. Right. Which was enough to just kind of keep going. Okay. And then of course I'd have like good days where I just really feel energized and just really feel great. Right. But then food also plays a huge role in that too. I learned actually pretty recently how much alcohol, sugar, and caffeine play a role in how I'm feeling. And so I used to crave all that kind of stuff all the time. And now I know how it affects my anxiety, and I don't even want it. Yeah. You know, like a holiday treat or something is fine, but I don't sit here thinking, oh, I could really go for a big fat slice of cake.
Yeah. So Janelle, you know, you sort of talked about the why and why this has been really important in your life, but I think it's really important for moms to know how you do it, because I know for many of us, you know, in those years of, especially with little kids, you're thinking, how on earth could I fit one more thing into my life? So what does that look like for you?
Yeah, and that's exactly how I felt. Like I felt even to fit 25 minutes of exercise into my day, I was like, there is no way I can do this. And so it had to be like, you know, as simple as possible. But I think it was just, you just have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And even now, like when I'm talking to other ladies, like sometimes I'll just say, like, if you can't get that full workout in, just even 10 minutes, even 5 minutes, that will be enough to just, and try not to miss 2 days in a row if you can, because as soon as you start getting to day 3, then you get to day 4,
Oh,
and then it's like, yes.
I know that story for sure.
Yeah. And so anyhow, yeah, like just where did I start? It was just the online accountability really played a huge role for me. I was part of a group and we would check in every single day. Now I lead a lot of these groups on my own, and I add a lot of faith component to it. And that has also helped me propel, for 6 years, because it's been 6 years now that I've been doing this. And then another little additional thing that we just started this year is Zoom in the morning at 6:30 in the morning. There's a few of us, not just from Saskatoon, but like from, different provinces here in Canada, some from California, different places in the States. We hop on at 6:30 and we all do whatever workout. They're all online. We show up, do a little wave, do our workout, and then we log off. And it's just so nice to see other people and knowing that we're all at home doing our thing, getting our sweat on, and we're on with the day,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that sort of propels me into the next question anyways, is okay, what is it that you do now? You've got a huge amount of followers. So what do you do? Like what is it that you're obviously a natural cheerleader, right? A natural encourager. So
thank you for saying that. I feel like it's I don't want to say like I feel like I need it. I need that community. So it was like slowly just like inviting people to join me on the journey and be like, hey, I really want to do this because I know it's going to help me. It's going to help me grow in different areas of discipline and virtue. I'm going to grow in temperance. So do you want to join me? And then, so we would this little community just started growing, and, some women come into it and then they leave for a bit and then they come back, and, but I've always got different groups going every single month where, and sometimes they have different flares to them. Sometimes I like to focus on like a little book study while we're doing the group. Like next month, I'm actually going to be doing one, focusing on Father Jacques Philippe's book, Searching for and Maintaining Peace, which is amazing book.
I love that. Have you read it, Elizabeth?
Oh,
Searching for and Maintaining Peace. It was the first Jacques Philippe book that I've read. I've read several now, but oh my gosh, it is stunning. Yeah, it's stunning. It's about this thick. Yeah.
Okay.
Beautiful. I'll put a link to it in the show notes.
Okay,
yeah, it's so good. So really kind of depends on what I'm looking for in my life. Like right now, I feel like I could use a little bit of extra peace, and I can tell that, the different things that are going on in the world, that my peace is being shaken a little bit. And so I feel like I need to go back to that book. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to lead a group focusing on this book so that I read the book, and then maybe it'll bless other people as well, And then we do our fitness, and we just check in. So like I have usually in the, like, depending if it's on Facebook, like I'll lead a group either on Facebook or in a private app. And then everybody just sort of, checks in and just says like how their workout went. And, maybe if we're focusing on a book, we respond to like what stood out to us in the book. It really depends on kind of what's going on that month. But that's been a huge piece and has helped me to stay committed, is this online community. So.
Okay, and so essentially it's something you've built yourself, because there's a lot of other women looking for the same thing, just some camaraderie, some fellowship, so that we could do this and know that somebody's going to help us sort of stick to it.
Yeah, and I think also just, giving them permission to know that it's okay to not be perfect. Like there are no perfect people here. We're all just working to get a little bit better. And then sometimes we maybe get a little bit worse before we get better. And that's okay too. Like we're here. We're here. Yeah. And I'm going to still be here next month. So come.
Do you consider yourself a fitness coach?
Some people would probably use that terminology. I always like to say a faith and fitness mentor,
that's good. That's a good description.
But at the same time, I feel like I'm always growing too. So I don't feel like I'm an expert in any way, but just continuously on this journey, learning and showing up, as much as I can. Like obviously there's different phases in my life where I haven't been able to do fitness, especially during the postpartum periods. But I still, even during that time, like I'm still there sometimes checking in and saying, hey, like encouraging women, in whatever phase of life they're in, even if I can't actually do the fitness, but I can still do nutrition, and I can still try and get my water in, and I can still, other things that help us along the way. and in my groups, like always encouraging people in their prayer time and things like that. So
yeah, what a beautiful convergence of all the things that matter most, right? You know, faith,
yeah, I
motherhood,
love it. I feel like
yeah.
it's helped me a lot in
Oh,
my own, both fitness and faith journey. So
yeah. Oh, for sure. So, what do you think, what do you see sort of as your particular gift in helping motivate others? Like what do you think most people are looking for in terms of being motivated, or what do they might not even realize they're looking for it, but what do you think motivates other people?
Well, right away, I think of what doesn't motivate.
Right.
I think like seeing like, a perfect person, I find that not motivating for myself. I like to see someone who's struggling through it, and who's willing to share the struggle.
Okay, that is a beautiful point, because I have had a couple of fitness programs over the years where I have this woman who looks, like spectacular, in her fitness thing. There's nothing jiggling. There's nothing jiggling. And she looks perfect. And I think, well, I mean, I'm doing this thing and I know this is good for me, but I couldn't even hope to ever look like that. It doesn't even matter to me to look like that. But it's kind of off-putting in a sense, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And that's usually what we're seeing is people who have made their vocation is to look as good as they can.
Oh, for sure.
Right.
And like I personally just never made it about that. I don't know, I just feel like that wouldn't be motivating to me.
Yeah.
And like a lot of the ladies that like are on this journey with me, like a lot of them are even grandmas and women who are in the midst of having children. Sometimes they're university students, single people, but we're all at different phases. And I think just really striving to be healthier and to take care of these bodies, because we know that these are like vessels that need to be taken care of so that we can serve God and serve those around us. So it's kind of the main focus.
Yeah. When I was young, I had, I also had an eating disorder, Elizabeth. I'm not sure if you and I've talked about that, but I was bulimic for a number of years and went through some difficult things. I was in an abusive marriage and whatnot, and went through some difficult things. And so there was a lot of body image issues. And so for me, it was just one more, fitness was kind of just one more aspect of body image that I just could never make the grade. Right. That's kind of how I viewed it. And I think many women can end up feeling that way, especially when there's abuse in your past or, whatever it is you're dealing with. But for me, the healing of that came about through having babies, because with every baby, I would become more accepting, with every pregnancy, really, more accepting of what an unbelievable gift my body is and what my body can do. So instead of focusing on how my body looks, it was all about the beautiful, incredible gift that my body is and the fact that my body can bring life into the world. And that was a massive sort of medicinal, cathartic change in my life, to move from, for me, it's been a very long train, sort of getting to that place where fitness for the purpose of feeling my best is what matters, as opposed to any other reason. To have this vessel be the giver of life is just such an incredible thing, and something very wanting in our culture, right?
Yeah. I have to say, I experienced that same thing when I started having kids. Kind of my eating disorder tendencies kind of just went away very weirdly.
Gradual, right?
Yeah. And the only time I see flare-ups has to do with when I am focused too much on food. I took a nutrition class through my gym, which gave great information. And it was kind of looking at caloric intake, which is fine. Like none of this is dangerous stuff. But I would start to have those obsessive tendencies come back. But I recognized it. And so I told my coaches and told them what was going on. And so they worked with me so that it wasn't bringing back all that obsession, so it was still manageable. I was still being healthy, but I wasn't going back to those kind of dark recesses of my mind.
When I first, I'm an adult convert to the church, and so when I first became Catholic, I had a kind of a similar experience with the idea of giving foods up and fasting, because it took time for me to normalize my relationship with food. You know, over a number of years that happened. So when I first became Catholic, the idea of giving things up for Lent was I had to choose non-food things, right? Because my relationship with food was disordered, and I knew it, and I knew that would just become some more a little weird thing. Do you find that in your support circle you have women talking about food and our disordered relationships with food?
Oh, for sure. And like, I find even for myself, like I see it continuously in my own life, how I utilize food to numb like whatever chaos is going on around me. Like I will go to that pantry and eat those chocolate chips like until the bag is empty, and it's bothersome to me, but I'm so grateful, you know, that we have, you know, the sacrament of reconciliation and things like that to help us along the way. But I feel like a lot of women struggle with their nutrition, whether it's eating disorders or it's just out of control eating, and I think you're totally right, Elizabeth, in saying that like you have to be very careful in some ways, because it's kind of a fast track to have like to get compulsive in terms of like our food, right? And so you really want to have like a balanced approach with our nutrition. And I find like even with children, like I felt like my nutrition, I was able to eat healthier in some ways when I didn't have small children. Because now there's like fishy crackers, tater tots, you know, like
all the leftover food.
Like, yeah, this stuff tastes really great and is full of sodium. Awesome. Like, so I feel like that's been a bit of a learning curve, because I have to remind myself that maybe, you know, like how can I encourage my kids to eat better? Because I know it's convenient, but is this the best for them? You know?
Right. Yeah. And you probably don't have time to be sitting cutting out whole grain fishy crackers with your cookie cutters.
Making my own from scratch.
I know. What a world we live in, eh? We're getting at sort of two sides of the coin everywhere we go, you know, both, you know, what we're supposed to look like and then all the things we're supposed to eat, right? That's just,
right.
Oh, it's crazy. So one of the things that I think is of course, you know that you've been listening to our podcast, you know, sort of we mostly work on question and answer. And one of the reasons I thought you would be a really good guest for this show was because a lot of the questions are about, you know, how do I stay in a good mood? How do I be patient? You know, how do I stay calm with my kids? And I think that fitness is a big component in that, and sort of helps us sidestep a lot of the issues we might have, right? Anxiety being the number one, and you know, sort of mood related things. So I think that it's a question, we've sort of answered it in various ways. I think more directly, what is the biggest advantage to staying fit as a busy homeschooling mom?
Number one, I think it gives me energy, because otherwise I feel tired.
Yeah.
You know, you're nursing babies in the night, you're dealing with a lot of things that you don't typically probably enjoy doing, like, you know, potty training, changing diapers, you know, and then with homeschooling, like honestly, your guys' podcast has helped me tremendously, and I feel like I've been learning so much. But like even in the last, you know, 4 years of homeschooling, like getting that early morning workout, because for me, like getting it in first thing in the morning helps kind of set the tone for my day, you know, knowing that I can do hard things, and I'm gonna carry on doing hard things.
Not gonna kill you. Yeah. So it gives you energy. How do you find, does it affect your sleep?
Oh yeah, for sure. And I know some people like doing fitness, let's say at nighttime, it doesn't let them fall asleep. Like my husband, if he did some exercise before bed, he just can't, you know, relax enough to fall asleep. So I think it helps me to sleep better, but I've honestly never had a problem sleeping. It's like as soon as my head hits that pillow, I am out.
Wow, that's fabulous. That was the thing that I noticed more than anything else when I started being really serious about fitness. couple of years ago was, I have never been a good sleeper my whole life. And, you know, so add good sleeper to all those years, not good sleeper to all those years of, you know, waking up with babies at night. And then you can't even fall asleep in between the times that you're up with babies, which is, I you know, it's a zombie so often. And now, like, I sleep like I've never slept in my life. And I'm, you know, sort of menopause or post-menopause, people complain all the time about not being able to sleep, right? And I'm just like, this is great. I've never slept better in my life, right? And I the only thing I can attribute that to is just to my level of fitness.
Yeah. Right. They say fitness does help with your quality of sleep for sure. Yeah, and with your mood, with your energy, with, you know, just having added strength, you know, it just really does facilitate life in general.
One of the things, I don't know where I learned this from some other speaker someday, but I've used this a few times when I'm giving talks, and there's this image of, you know, so when I'm giving a talk, I bring the stuff up on the, you know, on stage with me. And the idea is that if you fit the big rocks of your life into a container first, right? Like if you put all the little rocks in first, the big rocks, the 3 or 4 really, really important things in your life won't fit in because all the little rocks are taking up too much space, right? But if you put the big rocks in first, so your relationship with God, your relationship with your spouse, your family life, your fitness, those are big rocks, right? When I say fitness, I'm meaning overall health, right? Our physical health, that's just such a huge player in our life, that if we pour the little rocks in around them, it just fills in all the gaps. It all fits in, right? And so it's a great experiment to do live, because, you know, you put your big rocks in and then all the little rocks just fit in, you know, and, you know, we spend so much time worrying about all the little details, like, you know, will they be done this math book by the end of the year? You know, will we be, you know, will they be able to read by the time they're, you know, 8 or 7 or 10 or whatever age you've decided is the absolute, you know, deadline for when they have to read. And those are all little rocks. Little, right? So, you know, in a sense, like for me, I would say what I'm hearing is that there's kind of, you're weighing out a cost benefit analysis, is that, okay, I have to take this half an hour or hour or whatever time frame I'm giving myself, 10 minutes to work on my fitness every day and to put my health, you know, make it one of the big rocks in my life. But it's going to save you so much more time because you're in a better mood so that you can be a happy mom with your kids. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Because we spend a lot of our day is spent in conflict, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so how do we avoid that, right?
Yeah, for sure. I would say that fitness is definitely one of those big rocks for me. Like when I actually read this book a few years ago. You might have heard of it, called The Mother's Rule of Life. And it just talks about putting, you know, all your priorities in proper order. And, you know, one of them, you know, obviously like your personhood is kind of up there. And so for me to take care of myself, one of those things that are kind of is a non-negotiable is that fitness piece. Even though I don't love fitness, like I really, if I didn't have to do it, I wouldn't do it, but I know how much it helps me. And so I do it. And so it's one of the first things that I schedule into my rule, like my routine or my schedule. And what I've just really noticed for myself is just always getting it done in the morning before the kids are up. That has helped so much.
Yeah, no doubt. And worth its weight in gold, because it's going to give you something that you might not otherwise have. You know, I mean, it kind of in a sense reminds me of, like, you know, and this is, fitness is only going to support this, but when we want to get mad at our kids about something, if we can restrain ourselves and not get mad, we're going to take all that time, the next half an hour, 45 minutes spent arguing with the child, out of the equation, right? And so suddenly, you know, that changes everything. Our ability to see clearly, our ability to not waste time, to just kind of like, okay, brush it off. We're going to deal with it later, right? You know, it's not that this isn't important. You know, the child can't do X, Y, or Z, but now is not the moment for that, because I'm just going to end up in a headbutting ceremony, right? One of those things that, okay, if I can train myself to do that, I'm going to save a lot of time in a day. If I can train myself to take that half an hour that you might spend otherwise, if you were in a worse mood, arguing with your kid, right? If I can better my mood so I can avoid those kinds of things, that's time well spent, right? And should be a priority.
Yeah. And that's time where you can work out.
Yeah. Work out all that anger.
That's right.
Exactly. Yeah, you're buying yourself time for sure. Okay. So where faith and fitness, where do those two ideas converge?
Well, I think it's kind of a similar idea as what you were saying earlier, Bonnie, about like, having the physical piece really kind of dominant when it comes to fitness. Like for me, that just wasn't a motivator. And I didn't want that to be my motivator. Like my goal is ultimately to be able to serve God and to serve the people that he's placed in my life and the community around me. And so, really wanting to make sure that I take care of my body, whether it's through nutrition, sleep, which I feel like sleep is probably my biggest struggle right now. And
4-month-old, yeah.
and doing my exercise.
Yeah.
And so then it's easy to actually, incorporate the two together, because when it's a form of disciplining ourselves, finding the time and disciplining our bodies to do things that we don't want them to do. It's a form of virtue, right? So, and even like eating, we have to practice self-control and, temperance, obviously. And so I just feel like it's a really great opportunity to grow in those virtues every single day.
Yeah.
So then I just incorporate that, like in whether it's in the groups that I'm leading online, or even just myself, like when I'm like trying to convince myself out of doing a workout, then I can convince myself back into it and being like, I'm not going to regret this. I have yet to regret a workout that I've ever done, You
ever pray and work out at the same time?
Yeah, actually, in the last little while, I've been doing a lot of, during the workout, either listening to a podcast, it's going normal. Or, just recently, yesterday, I just put on a recording of the rosary, and it's really great. I feel like also another thing is because sometimes if I just listen to the instructors, sometimes some of the messages that they're portraying are not necessarily things that I agree with,
like you want your butt to be tighter and stuff like that.
Sometimes though it is beneficial to hear them say, because the workouts that I do are all online. So it's good to get them to kind of coach you and to have proper form and stuff like that. But, once you've done the workout maybe once, or you've done it before and you just follow along, I actually find it way more enjoyable. I'm like, oh, I can't wait to listen to this podcast. And then I just do my workout at the same time. So it's like, kind of a little bit of multitasking, doing a couple. It makes it more enjoyable for me, actually.
Yeah. I watch history courses. I use an exercise bike and an elliptic machine. And so for me, I watch, history courses online and, that, because I kind of get jazzed about that. So, it's just something that motivates me. I think, oh, okay, I just want to watch that, finish off that, that segment on Gothic art. So yeah, it's so whatever it takes, right? Whatever it is that motivates you.
Yeah.
I found that I'll try and pray or not the rosary, because I'll usually end up getting distracted by the pain, right? But I'll pray a couple Hail Marys. I also find that if it's like a rough workout, I'll offer it up for somebody who needs prayers. And so that's kind of how I connect my fitness with my faith. And
for sure.
And how
you're
anytime
like that plank and you're like, oh
yeah. But even when you think I really don't want to get out of bed and do this thing, okay, I'm going to offer it for my son who's doing midterms, or I can offer it for my neighbor who's really struggling right now. But what a gift, right?
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So Janelle, where can people find you? That would be, because people are going to want to find you.
Oh, I'm on Facebook. You can find me.
You have a personal account and then your other.
Yes, I have 2 accounts, but you can find me either way. Janelle Yasinki or Janelle Faith and Fitness on Facebook, and then I also have an Instagram account, just Janelle Yasinki.
Okay.
And that's basically where I'm at.
Okay, I love it. That's great. So
I have a question.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite fitness movement, workout that you really just look forward to doing?
You know what? I've really come to love weights.
Yeah.
I never thought I would be a weight person, but I really do. And I love lifting heavy.
Yeah. I'm with you there.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. And it's amazing, like how much it can improve.
Right.
At first you're like, wow, these 15-pound weights are quite heavy. And then the next thing you know, you're at 30. It's like, wow. Or,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just started I just got to 35 pounds this summer, which was huge. And I can't do every movement with them, but I'm getting there.
Wow, you guys are inspiring me. One of the things, Janelle, I'm going to backtrack just a moment. We're just about ready to wrap up, but you mentioned, about personhood. And I think that that's something that is just such a vital component to all of this. When we think of the dignity of the person, the dignity of our children, the dignity of our spouse, the dignity of others in our community. But when we think about the dignity of ourselves, that's when self-care, it becomes, in the form of fitness, in the form of taking care of our bodies, becomes so vital, that our personhood is so important, that we're instructed, this is a temple, right? And you're to treat it as such, and what does that mean? That means take care of it, have it working at its best, maximum, level of capability. Right. And that's going to be multifaceted for sure. Right. Fitness, nutrition, and rest. Right.
Yeah. I feel like, I have a personal responsibility to, my husband, my children, to God, to take care of my body, because I don't want to be dealing with, illnesses down the road that I could have prevented if I would have taken care of better myself. Now.
It was one of a couple of years ago when I started really taking fitness seriously. My husband actually had he had to have a stent put in. My husband's very slim. He's athletic. He's does not look like a heart patient. Okay. But there is a family tendency for heart attacks, and several men have dropped dead in their 50s like that with heart attacks over the, couple of decades. And he was going to be the next one. And he started having chest pain over a period of weeks. He ended up, having an emergency stent put in, and he avoided the heart attack, which we were eternally grateful for, because it probably would have been the end of him. So, we were supposed to, he was supposed to be exercising every day and whatever. So we got this equipment. It was me who started using it. He does still exercise a lot, but it was me who thought, you know what? I'm not getting a heart attack. No way. And I've never had any signs of that, but, I lost my mom to heart disease, and, here's my husband now faced with heart disease. And I thought, what can I do right now? So it was sort of an act of desperation, but I'm so grateful, right? I'm so grateful, Yeah. So I would, just for one last word, how would you encourage moms? What is the very first step you would ask them to take? If they're afraid, I can't, I can't, I'm too busy, I'm too tired, I'm too this, I'm too that. What's the very first step that can help them on this path?
Start slow, begin to grow.
Okay.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
So
I'd like to add too that now, obviously, if you're pregnant and have never worked out before, you shouldn't start something new. But if you are somebody who keeps up a fitness routine, don't be afraid that you need to stop. Talk to your doctor and everything. But I worked out all through my pregnancy with my daughter right here, and it was the best thing I ever did. I won't say that I recovered quicker. Everybody said I would, and I didn't feel like I did. But it's still, I got back quicker to the gym and got back to my fitness and better than I was before, quicker. And I just felt better my whole pregnancy. So
yeah, it's an amazing thing. And even they say morning sickness is really affected by your level of fitness as well, right? And so, that would be something. If I was going back in time, I would think, okay, just to avoid morning sickness, I will keep exercising. Hindsight is 20/20, as they say.
Right.
Yeah. Any last words, Janelle?
I just want ladies to know that they can do this. Like, I know that we tell ourselves that we can't, that we don't have enough time, but really, like, maybe you do better going to a gym, or maybe going to CrossFit or whatever. But if you're really limited, are short on time, short on space, don't want to invest in a ton of whatever, like, just know that even walking your stairs, Just add, like even adding some ankle weights while you're walking around your house, like whatever, just doing a little bit of something will help.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, some small thing. Yeah, it's amazing, and you can grow from there. Well, thank you so much. It has been lovely to get to know you, and I think this is a topic that needs to be talked about more. And so people will hopefully reach out to your community if they're wondering where to start. But we need to be encouraged, especially by other moms, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, God bless you, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
It was great to be here with you guys. I loved it.
It's fun, I know. Now you can listen to you. Okay, I'm going to sign off. God bless, ladies.
Bye.